Hey folks, happy hump day, July 29th, sitting here in United Divided Podcast Studio, Room A, that's what I'm going to call it. Today I wanted to take some time to first thank one of our sponsors, Bossy Title Company. Thank you for investing in open conversations in our community in Southern Indiana. Next, I want to congratulate my friend Alfonso Vidal. He has just released a book on Amazon, A Long Way from Caracas. Caracas, I think, is the correct pronunciation. I think Alfonso might fix me on that one. But I just ordered the book. Looking forward to reading it. And I wanted to go over some clips from the podcast that I sat down with. Me and Dr. Roy Arnold and Travis sat down with Alfonso about 6 months ago and talked about his journey, and it was a really interesting conversation. He pinpointed a lot of things that were going on in our community here in Southern Indiana, and he's making some similarities between some of the political rhetoric from the left and the right, and basically the goal of this conversation was to talk about his journey coming from Venezuela and seeing the turmoil. Venezuela used to be a very robust, oil-rich country in which, the way he described it, it sounded like a very sovereign country, meaning the oil companies and the oil distribution trickled down pretty heavily to local citizens, meaning many local citizens in Venezuela at one point had a very high standard of living. And then through reasons which he describes in the podcast, the standard of living goes way down. And part of the story he tells is his journey, what happened during that time, and why he had to flee Caracas, and how he made his way to America, and luckily for us here to Southern Indiana. So please look Alfonso Vidal up on Amazon, A Long Way from Caracas. I'm looking forward to the read, and probably we'll do a podcast after it. Until then, I'm going to get right into these clips, and I'm going to start off with one that basically just describes Alfonso's journey out of Caracas. Let me get to the right screen here, and we will go from there, maybe. Well, here we go. I'll get it figured out, folks. This is the first time I've done it. I've had some troubleshooting errors this morning, so I'm going to get right into this clip here, and we'll talk about it in just a second.
Through the military intelligence and all that, we were being followed. So ended up saying, okay, we got to leave and we got to make a gap. So they forget about us because it's like any other business. And we left the country hiding under the seat of a van. Okay, here we go again. But it was because we needed to go to a place that we had family. But it was a safe place with resources that we could be for 3 months or so in the middle of nowhere. That's
and who made that journey, that original?
So it was my dad, my mom, and myself. My sister, who was in ESL classes at UE the semester before the kidnapping, she almost didn't come, of course, because of the kidnapping. And then when I showed up after 11 days, then she got on a plane and came here to finish her ESL classes. So that's why UE had all the knowledge that I was going to be. In fact, President Vincent at the time asked to meet with me just to find out who the heck this guy was, right? Because I have lost by this time, between the kidnapping and missing classes and missing finals and all that, I lost a year in school. Okay, so I came to UE and they opened their arms. I always joke that they gave me an overseas scholarship, and I've always been so thankful, because I still think that they made that up just to help the guy from Venezuela. Okay, Evansville welcomed us with open arms. And me, and then eventually my wife. So right after I got out, I proposed because I was like, so my dad always claims that she organized the whole thing.
Man, that was a great interview. I tell you what, that's the first time I've listened to that clip all the way through since we actually were sitting down. A quick shout out to University of Evansville for opening their arms to the Vidal family. And I strongly recommend if you enjoy these clips, you can find that podcast on any of the platforms that we are on: YouTube, Spotify, and Rumble. It's I believe it is episode number 78. The title on YouTube is Alfonso Vidal on Maduro's downfall and what next for Venezuela and America. So anyway, so we're going to go right into the next clip. So one of the things, obviously, on this podcast is we discuss how we as citizens are divided into categories, and we are unable to really have beneficial conversation and to be honest with each other because we're put into different groups. And I think Alfonso does a really good job of narrowing down some language there. But part of this is acknowledging that these things are going on, and then doing our best to assure that they don't go on anymore. So let's listen to this clip. It's titled in the clip generator that I have here, United States Divided.
So I think what we miss is that by design, okay, and this is what Ronald Reagan said, the only way really to take down the United States is from inside, from within, okay? They have been siloing our society for a long time, where we all feel that we're in camps, and it's my camp and nobody's going to take me out of this camp. We're starting siloing a society is the easiest way to just make enemies of each other and start taking down each other. You cannot say the people that have glasses and the people that don't have glasses, that have beards or they have. It's like that is the problem that we have. So when that happens, okay, you start deconstructing, okay, what brings us together, okay. So that's why we started talking about, flag and burning the flag, or taking the knee, or all these things. The one thing that always brought us together was the United States, the country. Okay, we might have been in difference of opinion on how to achieve certain things. We all care about the neighbor. We all did. I haven't seen any country in the world that cares more about their neighbor than the United States. It's just that we go by different ways of doing it. The Democrats and the liberals they want to do it through a government, and we want to do it through private enterprise. Okay, but we all care. Okay, then we have made this society that is 50-50. Well, I think that social media is just reinforcing that initial feeling. The silo is everything, and I'm not saying anything earth shattering, right? The social media, we get in there. There's that algorithm, and it keeps giving us what fits us, what fits our soul. Okay, and it's the wrong thing to do because we need to be challenged every time.
I think Alfonso made some great points in that clip. And again, he defined some things in his own, way that I think resonated with me at the time. And I think it's important. I have a podcast called Unite the Divided, and the podcast and, all the way to the logo says that we're divided. But in reality, I said this, I think, in yesterday's podcast, we're not really as divided on most topics than we think we are. Wearing a shirt today, it's called Radical Honesty. I think I try to live up to that every day. Thank you to my wife for finding this on the internet. By the way, if you're interested in this t-shirt or any other that I wear, we can make those available to you, and it'll give a small donation back to the podcast. Anyway, so, I think what social media and I think to a large extent what AI will do is amplify our own echo chambers, meaning it tracks the type of content that we are following on a regular basis. And then it gives us more of that. It really doesn't push back or question any of the things that we're listening to or any of the people that we listen to. It's, basically, I think, built to strengthen your own ideas on the planet, even though some of your ideas might not be very good. And certainly some of my ideas haven't been good in the past. And so, that's why I wear the shirt regularly that says I was wrong. Because when we find out that we've been wrong, we need to acknowledge that. And we don't have to do a parade on down the street and tell people that we're wrong about it. But, we need to update our toolkit and do our best to not do it anymore. That's kind of the nature of the game here. So let's get right into the next clip. It's a shorter one. It's 42 seconds. And I think it's Alfonso talking about breaking the silos down.
I don't know. You can't stop that because it's social media and it's internet and everything is connected to each other. But you need a strong vision and mission of people coming together and saying, "Look, we don't care what your party is," because I don't care. You would have been a Democrat coming here naturally because you grew up, your family grew up Democrat, and I think you're now more Republican.
Yeah.
But that's only because the Republicans have changed and the Democrats have changed. Like you were probably more a JFK Republican now. Like they label us to keep us divided. And
Silos.
The silos. You said it better than I could say it. We have to come together and break the silos and have conversations about topics. I don't know. You can't stop that because it's social media and it's
Sorry, I ran over a little bit. I was taking notes because I wanted to make sure that I hit on this. I said it in that clip, and I mean it. I don't care what political party or personal identity you carry. If you're serious about engaging and you're serious about making our community and surrounding communities in southern Indiana better, then you need to get involved in conversation. Part of the reason why we are divided, part of the reason why we don't have relevant, significant conversations and debates anymore is because multiple reasons. I think in the education system, it's been kind of tamed out of us where we let the people in politics and the people that run everything do the debating for us, and we vote once every 2 to 4 years. And if we like what the people in power in our local communities all the way up are doing, we keep them there. If we don't, we vote them out. It's just very kind of weak in the civic participation side of things. I believe, need to get involved in politics. And I think, what is it? I was told a lot during growing up. It seems like up till 10 years ago, like one thing you never want to talk about around people is religion and politics. And I vehemently disagree with that. I think those are two very important topics that we should all talk about. But I digress. I'm not going to talk about politics or religion in this podcast. And if you just agree to come on to this podcast, we don't have to talk about those things either because they can be divisive. But what we can do is talk about topics. We can unite around topics. And I guess ultimately my biggest concern right now is, again, I said it yesterday, but got, I guess, 3 now of the top elected officials in southern Indiana in Vanderburgh County, Evansville, that refused to sit down and have an open conversation with me. I don't know if they think I'm going to send them a gotcha question, or maybe them, their own party is telling them not to platform me because I'm asking questions that they don't want to answer. I don't really understand it. I guess it's probably a marketing thing or something. Having owned a marketing company for 20 years, I find it a little bit astounding, but the reality of it is I think most people want transparency and accountability for the people that we elect. And we'd like to know what's going on. We'd like to be better informed. That doesn't mean we want to be engaged all the time. But that means like if we're expecting and receiving regular communication from our elected officials, we can do a quick summary. I know AI is a hot topic and data centers are a hot topic, good, bad, or indifferent. We can take and summarize conversations and in a minute. So, like if all of our elected officials are doing their jobs and they're communicating these things back to us, we can get a summary of that pretty quick in their own words. And then we can test those words over time. And when they need to change or pivot because the facts have changed, or, a budget needs to change because something unexpected happened. I mean, that's just radical honesty. And I think, point to the shirt, and that's where we're at. So let's go to clip number 4. And I think actually I'm going to skip over 4. This was one of the optional ones, because I think it says, we just need to focus on debate again. We need to focus on civics and conversations and, discussing topics that we are all passionate about. We don't have to talk about the 20% of things that we don't agree on, or we do talk about those things. Some people want to have those fringe conversations. I actually enjoy them. But if someone, wants to come and sit down on the podcast, I'm not going to force those things upon them. There's no gotchas in here. If you tell me, coming in that this is off topic, or you can't talk about it right now, I'm obviously going to be curious. We can talk about that when we're not recording, and I'll get a better understanding of that. I might push back a little bit, but I'm not going to do any gotcha stuff on the podcast. So without further ado, let's get right to the last clip. And we'll listen to the last conversation between me and Alfonso, and then I'll have a summary, and we'll see each other after my trip.
Before we get back into maybe talking a little bit more about your own personal situation, we had talked about, let's try to make sure the sound's going here, but critical thinking and having hard conversations and telling our kids, I think similar to what your story was, everything seemed great and you shrugged it off whenever you were hearing the stories or whatever. However, you have to have the conversations. You have to, you can't just allow one person to come in and say, this is why we're going to do things. You really have to have robust debate and conversations. That's right. So this clip is really, I think, maybe keying into that.
It was called Critical Thinking. And it's crazy. So basically, what you would do, this is like in the old days, you would listen to both sides of a story or a topic or an issue, and then you would make your own, this is crazy, you'd make your own opinion that would then guide you through.
I think you said something about humor, Alfonso, and it's like we really have lost our sense of humor when people and comedians are getting canceled, that things are not going in the right way, because what comedians have done, you think about the Richard Pryors and the Eddie Murphys and the my gosh, the raunchy things you hear, but you have to be able to make fun of everything at all levels, and that's free speech. You're going to offend people. If you can't offend people, you're not doing free speech right.
But here's the thing: not only that you're able, but that we cannot laugh, that we cannot understand. It's because we are so entrenched in our own little world that we cannot say, "Oh, that's funny," even though it affects me. That's funny. I hear jokes about Trump all the time and all that stuff.
Some of them are really funny.
They're really funny. And you gotta be able to go on here and say, "What? That's funny." So I think that's that. But the reason is the problem. The reason is that we say, "No, that offends me." In what way? If you are making a joke, it's because it's both offending, but at the same time, it's an irony that you're trying to highlight, right? And you say, it is, but it's not at the same time. And I think that's what we just lost, that ability to laugh.
Before we...
Man, that was a great conversation. Here on the pod, we always try to have a clip that's brings some humor into the conversation. I think we all need to find opportunities and ways to laugh. And I forgot who it was. It said, we should laugh, cry, bring yourself to the brink of laughter and tears every day, and that's a full life lived. I'm trying to think of who that was. I think it was somebody that passed away from cancer. Oh, it was Jimmy Valvano, I think, is who that was. But I guess to summarize and to close this out today, first of all, thanks for sticking around. It's about 20 minutes in. I highly recommend Alfonso's book, and please go back and listen to the podcast if you want. I've got several more clips that I'm probably going to share here in in the near future. Probably not till I get back next week. But Alfonso, to me, brought a radical honesty and a perspective that I think most people who live in southern Indiana and even throughout the country, or, who live in our own little echo chambers, is Alfonso really told the story of how Venezuela was a lovely place to live at one point, and then different things started happening, and he's noticing a lot of those patterns that are happening here in not just the United States, but even southern Indiana. Words are not violence. We have to be okay with being offended. If we are not okay with being offended, then we're gonna have many more problems. I mean, we really, in my opinion, if we want a free country, if we want a country that is worth living in, we all have to risk being offensive and be okay with being offended. And when we are offended, we need to have the courage and the strength and the skill set to push back on it. And to, it's like if a bully, if a bully confronts you and you show weakness, there's a good chance that bully is going to come back and keep bugging you in the future. But if you stand up for yourself, whether they want to admit it or not, they gain some level of respect or fear that you will respond next time. So with that, again, I appreciate everyone tuning in. I'm going to start trying to do more and more of these little shorter clips. And as we continue to grow out the different programs at the Bossy Podcast Studio down near Bossy Field, that is going to be more conversations with other guests and other people who are running the podcast. I'm just going to be doing more production because I don't want to be the only one that's talking, quite honestly. And I want other people's perspectives. I want other people to be heard. I want other people to get engaged in our community. We need to be all trying to make southern Indiana as good as it can be. Sorry, I was meant to transition that screen long before now. Anyway, so, let's talk and let's engage with each other. Even if we disagree on some things, that's okay. We need to disagree more. We need to keep those conversations out in the open. And one last reminder, please visit Amazon. You can also find Alfonso. I believe he's on Twitter, but I know he's on Facebook. Look his book up on Amazon, Long Way from Caracas. And I love you all. I appreciate it. And thanks again to Alfonso for coming in the last time. And look forward to getting together with you again, my friend. And till next time.